out the spigot underneath the car. I have a drain pan with a spigot on it to like pour it into my 5-gallon bucket that I tip over in the back of my truck. Did your dad tell you about that?
No, tell that story. I love that.
I had been saving this 5-gallon bucket of oil and fluids and poison and stuff. Very poison, like bad stuff. And I don't really know what is in it. And I had Garrison's 4-wheeler in the back of my truck, 4 other gallons of oil in like washer fluid bottles, 5-gallon bucket things that oil comes in, and then this Napa 5-gallon bucket with just like a snap-on lid. And I got it situated in the truck, and I was like, oh, cool. You know, as long as I drive carefully, I'll be fine. And I got 25 miles to work, and everything was fine. And then I saw my boss leaving, and I honked and waved, and I kind of, lost track of like what's in the truck and slowed down to turn into our shop. So our shop is 3 years old. It's brand new.
Mm-hmm. It's gorgeous.
2 years old.
So
2 or 3
nice.
years old now. I pull in and I hear a thud, and I thought it was just this electric 4-wheeler falling over. It was the 5-gallon bucket of oil tipping over, and it drained out, and it left a trail for like 200 feet dripping out of my truck. And It got up on my back window and down. It was leaking onto the exhaust.
When did you find out? Like when you parked?
When I stopped to drain it into, we have a used oil drum.
Yep.
And it's like the size of a dumpster. And I got out of my truck, and the whole thing is just, you can just hear it dripping. And everything is just dripping. And I'm just like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
And so I go full panic, because I've already taken a half day off to fix my truck. So I've been working on my truck for 7 hours already.
Because what was the water pump or something?
The water pump went out. I
can't believe you predicted that.
I took the water pump out, had it out, and I was watching a YouTube video on like how to do it. And this guy bought a bunch of other parts, and I was like, everything is like $400, so I'm not going to buy all that crap. And I looked at my thermostat, because it's in this T thing, and there was a rubber ring for my thermostat, and it looked like it was like an animal chewed it up. So I was like, oh. So then I had to go from here to Buffalo, and then from Buffalo to St. Michael the next morning, because nobody had everything in stock.
Oh.
So I had to go to 3 separate locations to buy everything, then come back home, and then bleeding it was weird. But anyway, so I get to work, and I spilled all this oil at noon. And
So everyone's on their lunch break watching you do this?
Everybody saw me lose it. Like, there was 2 inches of used oil in the bed of my truck. I mean, you could stand in it. So
And was there other stuff in it? That 4-wheeler was in it?
Yeah, but it just like got splashed on.
Okay.
But every single side of the pickup truck inside the bed liner, coated in oil.
Oh my gosh.
Because it just bounced it just sloshed like a swimming pool.
Insane.
And then I was like, great, this is so bad. Like, already taken, like, my boss already told me to take the whole day off. I should have just gone 2 blocks down the street and dumped the oil. It's for free. But instead I was like, I just want to, because I had like 10 gallons of oil, so I'm like, I just want to dump it at work. And I probably drained 3 gallons on the ground. And so I tried to clean up the gravel. Luckily, the ground is frozen, so none of it soaked into the gravel. So I just scooped the gravel, and I was so disoriented on everything that I threw 1 shovel full into a trash can instead of our like waste dirt.
Oh, no.
So I'm just like, and back to the truck into our wash bay. and it was just draining in there basically. And all my coworkers got off lunch and they were like, "What's up, man?" And I'm like, "It's not good right now." Like they could tell, like everybody could tell. Everybody was just like,
Bernie's.
"Leave him alone," because I was already in a bad headspace for like personal reasons, and then my truck broke, so it's even worse.
Yeah.
And then this happened, and I'm already like trying to build a reputation here, and now I just made an oil slick, and one guy broke, and he was like, "Valdez, huh?" He's like, "You're the new one," because last year a guy dumped a hydraulic tank out of a skid steer, dumped it, and so we nicknamed him Valdez. So
your ex-son Valdez
number 2.
Whoa, that's brutal.
So I'm in full panic mode because my boss left, and as he left, I dumped oil, like used black engine oil, all over this brand new property.
That's awful.
And I'm just
what did you do on the asphalt?
What?
What did you do on the asphalt
The
part?
asphalt really wasn't as bad.
Oh, okay.
And so I thought I could fix it. So I soaked it all in Dawn dish soap and then took like a 30-inch broom and scrubbed it. And dumped water and scrubbed it again.
How cold was it that day?
It was like 30 degrees.
Okay.
And it didn't do anything.
As
soon as it dried, it looked the exact same. And I spent 2 hours. I had ruined a hoodie. I had ruined a work shirt. I was soaking wet from head to toe from scrubbing.
Yep.
And it didn't look like I did a thing.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like, are you freaking serious? And then I pressure washed my truck. And since it's a spray-in bed liner, it took like 3 or 4 car washes plus degreaser to actually get it out.
Yeah, it's probably all absorbed in the bed liner.
I was just laying on the ground, pressure washing the bottom of the truck because oil is dripping onto the exhaust, and it's like, honestly, just
that's the worst.
Let it light on fire.
Light on fire.
But plus side, silver lining. Got rust proofing that day.
Right.
I mean, the bed's pretty much solid at this point. It's not getting rusty.
That's crazy.
But yeah, that was a terrible day. And then my parts guy, sometimes I want to attack him. It's like, I think it was the next day, he was like, "You really think leaving an hour early helped you fix your truck?"
Oh,
I was like, no, didn't really work out because I bought some trailer wheels that didn't fit, so I didn't get started on my truck for an extra hour. And then he goes, and
that means they're talking about it.
And then he goes, "Why'd you just take a half day?" He goes, "Really think a half day was worth it?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna kill you right now."
That's him just repeating what he heard his boss say, like freaking A.
I said a couple of things, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, that stuff will get me fired for sure.
Yeah, do you feel like getting fired today?
But anyways, so we were talking about the algorithm.
Yeah.
I got stuck. So being a car buyer, I kind of miss it. And like I talking to my buddies about like.
Can you pause for a second? What did you do?
Oh, so I was a car buyer for a large chain of dealerships, and I would buy cars from private owners. But I was 25-ish, and immature, didn't really understand how like important this job was to me, like personally. And I just kind of thought it was fun. So I would buy cars and I would appraise a car like a trade-in value kind of a thing. Except instead of trading it, we would buy it from them and cut them a check on the spot and take it in and either inventory the vehicle or take it to the auction. And or maybe dealer trade it if it was something crazy. But most of the time we'd buy stuff for our own inventory or send it to the auction. And I learned a ton about the automotive industry on the sales side, and it was super interesting. It was super fun. I love statistics and numbers, and
Yeah.
this was all of it. I mean, every auction in the country, every car in the country, and we used Kelley Blue Book, Auto Trader, and our own appraisal tool, and we would appraise these cars, every make and model of car.
Yeah.
You know, it was crazy.
I felt like you were learning an insane amount about cars at that point.
It was like so much that I like was, and like when I was at Maury's as a used car tech, I was like on the cusp of learning a lot, and I was learning a lot about the service side.
Mm-hmm.
Like back then, the pace was so fast. Like if you weren't like clicking and catching on, like they'd just move right on. They'd move right past you.
Mm-hmm.
So like going from the service side to the sales side, basically. And I was their hybrid because I was mechanic and I had like an ability to talk to people.
Yeah,
which
definitely.
is, you know, weird.
Rare.
And so they were like, sure, we'll take a shot at you. And it was a sweet gig, but I was too young for it, basically, and too honest for it. And I do miss it, but it was like kind of a lucrative industry where it might lose its luster.
You didn't want to start having to lie to people.
Well, and like, I was the lowest guy on the totem pole, so it sucks. Like, you'd be sitting in your desk and someone would walk in, and it was 3 offices in a row, and one guy had the front window, and I had the middle, and then our boss had the back. So they could see the outside, and I could see the like south side of the lot or the east side of the lot. But if someone was walking in the front door, you know, let's just say it's a old lady, you know, John's got it.
Yeah.
He's in. And second person would come in. Boss would poke his head out the window. And you'd know because he had really bad cancer, so he'd be in his chair unless somebody came in that was looked like a seller.
Yeah.
Because you could tell, that's one thing you got to read kind of what's going on. And then I was there, you know, if somebody else walked in. And so I would look at a Ford Focus with a rusted out subframe and I'd go, hey, you know, I'm happy you got your car here, but the subframe's rotted out, so it's not really drivable and you can't resell it, and I'm not going to fix it because it's a 20-year-old Focus. So I'll pay you scrap, and we're going to send it to the auction, and I think you should get into something safer. There's actually a Kia Sorento that I appraised and a Hyundai Sonata. 2 cars I appraised that were actively spraying gasoline on the ground while they drove it in. It'd be sitting there idling, and it would just be pissing gas on the ground. And I go, seriously, this car is not safe to drive. You should not be driving this. And they'd be like, I drive it every day. And it's like, don't drive it anymore. It's not safe to drive. It will start on fire. And they were like, hasn't started on fire yet. And I'm like, that's where, like, with the Mazda, I'm like, hasn't snapped completely in half yet. So
Yeah, right.
there's still life left.
Yeah, exactly.
But
what made you think about being a seller now that you shared that background?
well, salesperson,
yeah.
I think I would like it for like 6 months and then kind of be like, because I'm not a huge money guy. Like I was talking with Mom about being rich and having tons of money.
Yeah.
And like money does allow you to have freedom and stuff.
Right.
But do I want to bust my butt and miss out on other things? Maybe, but at this point, not really.
Well, I mean, I feel the same way of like, I chose a career, I work in education, and I'm able to be home every night.
Yeah.
Like, I don't travel for work. I rarely miss meals.
Right.
I see my kids at school. We had donuts with Dad the other day at the elementary school. I liked being able to easily go to that, and it like wasn't a big deal for my job that I came in a little late.
Yeah.
And I mean, one of the things that that reminds me of is that was kind of choices that our dads,
Yeah.
our dad made and our grandpa made to like choose careers that were family friendly.
Yeah, and like there's a certain value in like time for yourself, mental abilities. You have a big family.
Yep.
I have a family.
Yep.
I was talking to some younger guys about work and about having a career. 21, 23, and 24. So I'm 10 years older than all these guys, at least. And I told them, like, if you don't have a family and you're dating somebody, work your butt off
Yeah, I agree.
now.
Yeah.
And, like,
get
this
ahead.
one guy I was talking to, he's got a girlfriend. They're planning on getting married. They're planning on getting a house. And I'm like, dude, stack paper
Yeah.
and travel.
Yeah.
Stack as much money
Yeah.
as you can. Work your butt off. No one cares.
Yeah.
Like, I partied most of my 20s.
Yeah.
Do I regret it? Some days. But do I have a lot of cool memories? Yeah.
I
But
mean,
I could have stacked. Like, there was a few of my friends that worked every Saturday almost. They're making $50,000 more a year than me now.
I totally took for granted how much I traveled in my 20s, and all of a sudden it was just gone.
Done.
And like now I'm like stoked to get out of state.
Yeah.
Go
Go
I
to
can count on one
Wisconsin.
hand, how many times I go out of state. And actually I think that's like what's kind of interesting is not to get too nerdy about it, but the great American adventure is about families that are willing to get out. Like
Yeah.
Highway 61.
Yeah.
There's this idea of like cross-country road trips that were actually fun
Mhm.
and like not like, the Wild West
Right.
is relatively new.
Right.
And so like the automobile really came into popularity when they were safe enough, comfortable enough, and fast enough
Right.
to do these road trips. And then they were able to build
Yeah.
roads. And that was really the 50s.
Yep.
Like the 1950s is when you see these emergence of family road trips to national parks
Yeah.
and the roadside cafes.
Mhm.
And it was a simpler time because the way people worked in those eras, there was a lot more time built into family time. But it was also the economy was better, so it was
totally
affordable
different.
to do it. And so there's just a ton of things about travel that I think are still part of our imagination.
That's why
Yeah.
one of the reasons
Yeah.
I got this car, the first summer having this car, I was like, next year I'm taking the kids and Ashley to the Black Hills.
Yeah, sweet.
In a
That's
classic
great.
car.
Awesome.
I want to do that.
Yeah, that'd be a heck of a story.
Still has yet to happen. And having project cars, they're forever developing.
Right.
So sold the snowmobile and I'm like, oh, buy an 18-inch wheels and a front disc brake kit. And then I bought a shit box.
Yeah, well, and what's funny too is project cars are tough because they kind of just absorb your attention.
Well, and your Challenger is a little different where it's fuel injected. It's been on the road for years.
Mhm.
We took this to Iola,
Yeah.
but taking it 8 hours one way with two kids, small kids, and just sort of being like,
Well, and I mean, speaking of road trips and car problems, one of the memories that I have from you weren't born yet, I don't think, or you were just a little baby. When Mom and Dad went to Yellowstone, we had the brown station wagon.
Yeah.
I think it was a Buick.
Yeah, it was a Cutlass.
A Cutlass, yes.
It was a Cutlass wagon.
Cutlass wagon, brown Cutlass wagon. Blew a head gasket
Yeah.
in the absolute middle of nowhere.
Blew the
Somewhere.
radiator. I think Dad told me this story.
It was a radiator because it was smoking.
And
So I was obviously little. So I remember just sitting on the side of the road on this hill
Yeah.
and watching Dad hitch a ride.
Yeah.
And Mom's there.
Totally normal to do that too.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Super weird to think of that. No
So,
technology.
So if something happened on your road trip with the Buick, that would be the equivalent of the memory that I had with Mom
Yeah.
and Dad in the station wagon.
Well, and Mom was an adventurous person.
Totally,
Dad
yeah.
was a cowboy.
Yeah. Yep.
Ashley's city slicker.
Yep. Yep.
We were going out to like
We're all city
Cocato,
slickers.
yeah. And it's like, but we know how to fix stuff, which our wives still are like,
Yeah, we haven't gained their
how
confidence.
can you? Let's see it happen. Like every time I show Ashley a video, she's just like, wow. And I'm like, I've been doing this for 20 years. Wow. I mean, I'm happy that happens still,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you know, if one of our cars broke down and we're in the middle of nowhere, they'd be like,
Oh yeah, I know.
told you should have two-road this.
Yeah, right.
It's like, yeah.
Calls AAA immediately.
Yeah, we've tried that. That doesn't work very
yeah,
well.
yeah, that's another story.
But so anyways, back to Maury's.
Yeah.
So bought cars there and then got canned because I was too honest.
Mm.
And I was buying the least amount of cars.
Yeah.
But too honest. And then so weirdly enough, the algorithm on YouTube has led me to this East Coast car buyer, JH Auto House in New Jersey, and he buys exotic cars.
Wow.
And he talks about like MMR, which is Manheim Market Research or something. It's the auction.
Oh wow.
Which I know everything about. I know, like, that's one thing about this car buyer job that I had. I remember every single thing about it. Like, I was so passionate about it when I had that job that, like my bosses and cores might not think I like that job very much because I had 2 computer screens, and that year was the first year I played fantasy football, and I won fantasy football. So I had 2 computer screens, and I'd just be like, oh, ESPN.com, oh, yeah, set my lineup, drop, add players. And then the customer would come in and be like, yes, 1 second, I need to set my, never mind, I'll be right there. Anyways, I remember everything like it happened yesterday, and this guy's talking, oh, this MMR's here, oh, this interior, this, wheels this, stock, aftermarket parts, oh, this GTR's worth this on trade, this is MMR right now, this is what I can get it for, this is the max. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, no way. I actually did my homework one night because he appraised this Corvette. It's all like online too, so somebody will call
you can
me
do
and be
your
like,
research.
I have an Audi RS6 wagon.
Yeah.
And this is what it is. And he'd be like, well, I think I can do like 85. The kid's like, I need 110. And he's like, I'll never get there. And I'll be like, actually, you can. Like, this guy had this Corvette. So, like, Corvettes are really easy.
Yep.
Because there's tons of information out there. There's tons of comps.
Right.
So, I listened to his Corvette appraisal, and I was like, all right, I know everything about that car. And I went online. And
what Corvette was it?
It was a 2016 Z06.
Oh, okay. So modern Corvette.
C8. I think that was wasn't a C8, but it was a Z06.
Okay.
With a special color package, and it was a 7-speed manual.
Oh, wow.
So I did a Kelley Blue Book trade-in. I did Car Gurus comps.
Sure.
And then I did, I have an old Black Book, which is another appraisal tool, trade-in value thing. And he was like, I got to have the car for 60 and it's worth 70. There's 3 7-speeds for sale in America right now in Car Gurus. And they're anywhere from 76,000 to 100,000.
Oh, wow.
And this car had 7,000 miles. And so I commented on the video. I was like, this car's worth 70K trade, which is what this guy wants, and it's 80K retail, no problem. like it's that, like, I'm like, I mean, you know, I'm like, I can be like, this car's worth $2,000 if it isn't rusty.
Right.
You know, just call it out.
Yeah.
And like, man, anything like that, like, was super, like, this channel has me like so locked in because this guy, I know what he's doing, but I know how the system works too. Yeah. So like, you appraise a car for, let's just say I look at your truck. Yeah. 2008 F-150. Yeah. Okay, XLT. Okay, it's got new headlights. Okay. Well, you fix the rust. I have a $2,000
Yeah.
Recon fee that goes on top of every appraisal. So I
Yep.
appraise your truck at
Yep.
$8,000.
Yep.
Recon fee is $2,000. So your truck is worth $6,000 to me. And you're like, not a chance in hell that's happening. Okay. And you look at it and like, oh, you got a wheel that's just burnt,
Yeah.
crisp. I'm like, that's a $500 wheel.
Yeah.
And you're like, $500 used F-150 wheel. Give me a break. So I'm like, all right. Well, I can bump my recon fee down to $500 because we're going to wholesale this truck. We're not going to do any. We're going to do a safety check, change the oil, and put it out on the lot. Because that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
They're not going to They're not going to turn it into a brand new truck.
Yeah. No way.
So bump that fee down, and then I go, all right, what's MMR? What are these going for at the auction? They're going for like $6,500 at the auction. But it's red. You're a non-smoker. It's 4-wheel drive, and we live in Minnesota, and it's not rotted out. And the headlights look brand new.
Yeah.
So the truck is straight. All right, I'll do $7,000. You want 8? Meet me in the middle at $7,000.
Sold.
I can do that. And I go, sweet. And I go tell my boss, hey, I bought this truck for $7,000. It's a stretch, but it's 4-wheel drive F-150. And he goes, Burry! And I go, did you want to buy it or not? And then we put it online for $9,500 and sell it.
It's
like,
right
hey,
away.
man, you said $8,000. Like we bought a Boss 302. I love this story.
2012 Boss 302 or 2013?
I don't remember.
2012 is the C stripe, and 2013 is the hockey stripe. You don't remember?
I have a picture.
Did it have the fish face or the 4 headlights?
It didn't have the headlights because it's a Boss.
Okay. So vintage. Like a 70?
No, it was a 5.0.
Oh, it was 5.0. Okay.
But it doesn't have the actual.
I bet.
Is that your phone?
No, that's my phone case.
Oh. Anyways.
We're filming on my phone.
Yeah.
Welcome to Lane Brothers Garage.
We're talking. We're talking about a Boss 302. Shoot. It's a forever ago. So it's going to be hard to
What color was it?
Like orange red. And what's cool about the Boss 302 is it also had a red key.
Oh, yeah.
So it had the Ford
was it a
racing
Laguna
key.
Seca package?
No, it wasn't a Laguna Seca package. Because that's when Jay Leno went to Laguna Seca with one. And it had like the baffles where it opened up and went like... And I was like, oh, I need to have one of those.
That was like the first cool non-Shelby modern Mustang.
Dang,
I still want a 2012 real bad. I think it's tough because like they followed it up with the Shelby 350, which is I think objectively like a better vehicle. Like Matt Farah basically said, yeah, the Shelby 350 because of the flat plane crank V8 engine is like really a special engine. It's like kind of like a Ferrari.
I mean,
engine.
they are ridiculous. That's the crazy part.
But did you drive that Boss or two? You drove all kinds of cool cars when you were doing auctions.
That was a crazy thing. Like, bought a Viper. This was a hilarious story that I'm not afraid to tell. We bought here's the Boss.
Yeah, 2012. That's a 2012. Send that to me. Yep.
Had the red key, the Ford racing key.
I love that. That's so cool.
And so we bought that car for, I think, 28, which is insane.
So
28 grand
for what year was that?
2016.
Yeah, so it's like a brand new car,
dude. Yeah, there's like 8,000 miles on it or something. And the guy goes, I have a garage in Minneapolis and I need more room for my Porsches. And I'm like, I love you. I love you.
Yeah, you're giving me free money.
So sell me the car. And this guy, so we bought the car for 28, put it on the lot, no tag or anything yet, don't even have like an inventory tag in it. And a dude rolls in a show and it's sitting right in front of me. I mean, it's sitting on the lot right in front of our office. And a guy pulls up and he starts looking at the car. And we are car people. So I'm just like, well, you drive to a Hyundai dealership and you're looking at a Boss 302 Mustang. You're one of my people. So I go out and I'm like, yep, we actually just took this in. And it's like obviously brand new. I mean, the car's untouched. And the guy's like, No, he wanted to get a show. He was like, I was going to look at a tourist show. And I was like, this is better than a tourist show forever. Like, this will never, ever, ever. Joe will never, ever, ever be this car.
Yeah.
And he was like, nope. And I went, yeah, this is insane. I was like, this is a Boss 02 Mustang. I was like,
he didn't know what it was.
I said the same thing to him like I said to you. I was like, this has a red key. Like, it's a race car. This is a race car.
Yeah, it's so sweet.
And he was like, it is awesome. And I was like, and it's 34 grand or 35.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's $35,000. And I went, yeah. And he went, okay. And he bought it.
Oh, sweet. Lucky dog.
Not even a week later.
That's amazing.
So then we bought this. So one car I really, really, really wanted to drive was a 96 Viper. And it was just a Viper GTS, but it was cammed. So the thing would just go.
Just a GTS.
Was it a GTS? Maybe it was a base
Was
model.
it a GTS? I mean, it was, this is the white one with blue stripes. Hardtop. Yeah, so that's a GTS.
Hardtop. It was like driving 1995. I mean, it was 100% so cool. 90s car. But 90s scary car. Scary, scary, scary car. But this guy drove it straight from Brainerd Raceway to the lot. There were little tiny tire pebbles in the wheel wells because he had raced it all weekend.
And then he was just going to sell it.
Tire balls, the balls of tire weren't even washed out of the car.
That was back in the day where those were like the base models were 500 horsepower?
Probably 400, 450.
Okay.
It's an 8-liter V10.
Yeah.
But it was a 90s V10.
Yeah.
And I think the Rams had 350, so I'm sure that car had 400 or 450. But
so probably
so
like
we
a
bought
12-second car, right? You think, or
it wasn't made to go. It had no. Well, this was the car. This was one of those Vipers that had no safety stuff.
Oh yeah, no traction control.
No traction control, no ABS.
Oh man.
No anything. No StabiliTrak, nothing. It was just a 6-speed manual race car with a V10. And this one had cams. Or had a cam.
Viper.
But this dude freaking takes his suitcase out when we bought the car. Like, we bought it for $16,000.
That's ridiculous. That's how much you paid for your truck.
Yeah. Wow. That's horrible. So we buy this like one of one car, and we had a detail area.
Yeah.
And I am like obviously like oozing over this car, and I'm like, can I drive it to the detail area? Because he was like, you can't drive it on the road. I'm like, come on. And he was like, can't drive it on the road. I'm like, I get it. Fine. Because obviously I just hooned that thing. But, which is funny, like, I drove a STI with a huge turbo. This Asian guy drove it in, and he was like, what do you think you'd give me for it? I'm like, well, the car's pretty built, so I'm probably not going to buy it. And I was like, can I test drive it? And he goes, sure, let's take it for a rip. So just, like 30 PSI, just 30 doing PSI. 90 and a 30. He's like, this car rips. And I'm like, yeah, good head gaskets? And he was like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, probably still not going to buy it. Because I was like, $9,000. And he goes, no, I need 20.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to the Viper. So we pull it into the wash bay. Did you know that Vipers don't have back windows? It doesn't have a rear window.
It's just open?
It's just open. So, boss man, pressure washing this Viper.
Your boss?
He's pressure washing it. And I see the water.
After you buy it or beforehand?
After we bought it. And I see the water go through the back window area and just spray the dash. And I'm just like,
was that a leather dash or pre?
Well, it was all old.
Yeah.
It was plastic and like the leather.
So you know
it was seriously like a Sega Dreamcast or Sega Genesis like racing steering wheel. It was like cruising Exotica. It was like driving this car. But anyways, I'm like, Gary, you're spraying the dash with water, and he's like, what? Why didn't you tell me? And I'm like, you're my boss. Why don't you know this? And he's just sort of like, why didn't you tell me this is all your fault?
This is your fault, buddy.
Everything was my fault. So I'm like, whatever, dude. And like, thing had Alcoa wheels, and we used the wrong cleaner on the wheels, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. So this thing had like spray dribbles on these one-of-a-kind wheels.
Oh,
And
no.
I'm just like, oh, I don't know how we're going to get out of this thing now. No, it's like a flood car. Sold it for like 36 at auction.
Yeah, wow.
Like, no
Amazing.
problem.
That's awesome.
So it only had, 16,000 or 26,000 miles.
I bet that car's somewhere on YouTube right now.
Probably worth $120,000.
Yeah. Yeah, crazy how Viper prices. What comp out a Viper for me now?
A Viper?
yeah,
Well, there's so many.
Yeah. Like that era, like a first-gen Viper or GTS.
Well, depends what wheels you have. Depends if it's stock. If it's got an
Bone
ACR
stock,
pack. Bone stock, base model. Well, I'd have to look at the comps. I'd have to look at what's for sale. Color is super important.
Okay.
History.
What are the good colors for Vipers? What would you guess?
White, silver.
Oh, because it's rare?
Yeah. Oh. Blue, red and black. Black, everybody likes black.
Yeah.
But red's probably the bottom. Yellow's up high. But yellow's a hard one. Because, like, people like yellow, but not a lot of people like yellow.
Uh-huh.
People love blue Vipers.
Yeah.
They love, like, I want a Viper freaking model.
Yeah. It's like the cooler thing than a blue Corvette.
Yeah.
Blue Viper.
Like, freaking, like a GTR.
Yeah.
Like, I've never bought a GTR professionally or personally, but every single time you see one, you're like, oh, it's one of the fastest cars on the road of all time.
We did that at Iola this year. Last year, there was a guy who had his GTR out. What was that even for? What were they selling? I don't even remember what it was.
Was it a show car?
Was it?
No, it was a detailer.
Yeah, a detailer.
The kid brought his own GTR detail booth.
It wasn't even detailed.
It wasn't even detailed. He just parked it there.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, they just let me park. I'm like, you didn't even detail it, man. And he was like, yep, got upgraded turbos, upgraded this, upgraded that. And I'm like, Andrew and I are just like, what the heck?
That's the first time I sat in a GTR.
800 horsepower to the tires? Like, what the? Ridiculous.
Sitting in it felt like a cockpit. Like,
yeah.
It was amazing.
And like, they're still $100,000.
Yeah.
Like, used. And then it's just like SRT4s after they came out. Half of them are salvage titles.
Yeah. Right.
Like, what's funny about like Hellcats and stuff, people just wreck them.
Oh,
like, people wreck them so bad that they're not like savable.
Yeah.
So that was another funny one that came through this car buyer's lot. Is this guy rebuilt a Hellcat and they had a bunch of funky paperwork, and they Googled the VIN number and it came up on Copart and the whole front end was gone. All the wheels were gone. So they rebuilt the whole car and they didn't tell them about any.
Oh, no. Jeez.
They're like, yeah, we just painted it. And it's like,
you did more than that.
Funny.
Yeah.
One time I bought a Tacoma and I thought it was a great deal. This kid was super pumped. It was like a mid-90s Tacoma, so something you never see. And I didn't look at the frame close enough. And like, Tacoma frames rust out really, really bad.
Like, so bad that they had to warranty them.
They will fold in half if they go up on a hoist.
They'll literally replace your whole frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I bought it. I bought it for like $5,000, which was actually under MMR. MMR on the thing was like $7,500. Toyotas have crazy MMRs. Like, Toyota's auction values are just nuts. So I got this Tacoma, and the body was clean, and the kid was happy. Interior was super mint. 5-speed manual, 4-wheel drive. And we were like, it's just too old to put on the lot. They took it to the auction, and it went through inspection, and the frame was totally hatched. And they were like, Bernie, we ended up selling that truck for like $2,200.
Oh, no.
So like,
brutal. Was
a tough one.
Was that like things like that forced them to let you go? Or?
No. It was stuff like, you came in on your F-150, I appraised it for $1,500.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what I can do though? I can help you make a Craigslist ad because your Craigslist ad sucks. And I'd be like, I use Craigslist all the time. This is how it works.
And they'd be like, you're stealing our sales.
Jared would be like, he'd be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, why do I want to buy this car? What are we gonna do? Send it to the auction? He goes, car's a car. I'm
Yeah.
like, fine, like whatever, I
That's
get it.
funny. Yeah, he didn't
But
look
like,
at it.
I bought more cars than, I mean, never mind. I don't need to talk about it. I bought cars on days I didn't want to be there more than days when I did want to be there. There were Saturdays I'd come in, mid-20s, living on my own, having a good time Friday night, come in, don't care about a thing. I'd buy 6 cars before noon. I'd just be like, today's a good day, I guess. I'm going to eat some McDonald's or I'm going to yak.
So go try to sell your car on a Saturday.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Saturdays were hot. Saturdays are hot days. We're trying to buy all the cars.
Yeah, wow.
And end of day, I'm calling up people. We're reaching so many Toyotas we would reach on and somehow make out on them. It's ridiculous. Like, we bought a 4Runner, 07 4Runner with like 250,000 miles, 260,000 miles for $7,000 and still sold it. Like, no problem.
What?
One time I sold my buddy, so I worked there at Maury's. My buddy owned a really nice Jeep Wrangler. It started to kind of rot away. Like the aluminum was corroding and stuff. And he was like, Bernie, I just need to get out of this thing. I don't need to make $1 million on it. And I went, dude, Nate, like, this thing's worth like $12,000. This is a nice Wrangler. And he goes, I don't want to sell it privately. I just don't want to, which is totally normal. Like, tons of people want to do that. They don't want to sell their car. It's a huge pain. Tons of people touching your stuff, know where you live. You don't want to always go to a random location to meet somebody and then get left. Like,
a million tire kickers if you have a Jeep.
People just don't show up.
Yep.
Anyways, so he brings his Jeep to our lot. And I'm like, hey, I'm buying my buddy's Jeep today. And they're like, need help? And I'm like, no, this is my friend. I'm buying his truck. And they're like, ooh. And it's like, yeah, I'm just going to buy his truck. So reached on it, paid like $7,500 or $8,500. And they were like, that's a lot of money for that Jeep. And I'm like, dude, it's a Jeep Wrangler in Minnesota. Everybody loves them.
Yeah.
Threw it up for like 12 or 13.5. And it's gone. Like, it's gone in less than a month.
Wow.
And my buddy calls me up and he goes, dude, I miss my Jeep. Is there any chance you still have it for sale? And I'm like, what? You couldn't wait to get rid of this thing. It's a Jeep Wrangler. It had a hard top and a soft top.
Oh, wow, nice.
This is nice.
Yeah. And
then he was like, oh, man. And I was like, dude, and we sold it for like $13,000. He goes, I would have paid for it. And I'm like, what?
What a cool.
It's like, goodness gracious, man. But
that's funny.
It was funny. But yeah, like, you know, it's just funny, like, getting into YouTube and watching different automotive content creators and just like picking up little things here and there and like, oh, that would work on our channel or that would work on my other channel.
Yeah. You got me thinking about, I listened to Doug DeMuro talk about starting cars and bids. Yeah. You know, and like, that is crazy huge that channel. He was able to do that.
Yeah.
And like, he had some other investors that helped him, but like, I mean, it was even crazy that that
you getting any homework done?
My son's watching. Yeah, just like the fact that he built an auction website out of nothing.
Right.
That now competes with eBay and these big auction houses and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's one thing that I think is so interesting about the car industry is it does allow for these rebel opportunity things to happen. And like, it isn't just about the system. Like,
right.
You know, and I think that's one of the things that is fun about it. That kind of goes all the way down to cars. Like the way that you're explaining and tuned into Length, Speed, and Cycle to learn about this, but he's been doing all kinds of things to get his car where it is. Yeah. And like some of the parts and stuff that he was able to get are just a result of other car guys like having an understanding, like a code that they know they had to follow.
Right.
So
I mean, that's another thing. Like watching these YouTube videos, you catch on to like, oh, I should follow those steps.
Yeah.
instead. And like, oh, I never thought about doing it that way. Like this guy DD Speed Shop started an engine, a Chevy 350, on a cherry picker, and he's like just checking out all the things running, and I'm like, what the heck? It's just hanging from a chain. And he's just spraying starter fluid into it and he's running it.
That's
That'd
awesome.
scare the crap out of me. I don't want to start an engine like that. And then afterwards, I was like, I can start.
I could do that if I wanted.
Nice.
But yeah. Well, I mean, for me, this winter's been really boring car wise because going from a project car that I spent all winter for 5 years planning and buying parts and doing research,
Busting your butt.
Yeah, and just figuring it out, to having a car that I know that in hopefully 2 months, maybe 3, I'll just turn the key and pull it out of the garage and do a burnout. Like,
sucks that it'll still be slower than a 95 Dakota, but I mean, you could be making it faster.
I don't know. There is some anecdotal evidence that it's faster, such as dynos.
It just has more horsepower. It doesn't mean it's faster.
Well,
I need slicks.
Yeah. So do I. Maybe that will be a fun.
That's one thing. Like watching this stuff is like some street drags are like still around. Like it's super funny. And another thing that came up is like 7 to 15-year-old YouTube videos of guys doing rolls.
Oh, sweet.
And like street drags.
Oh,
just like 2-valve Mustang GT versus
I love it.
Z06 Camaro. And it's just like potato camera.
I love those.
And the guy's just rolling 3, 2, 1, go. And it's just 2 cars for 30 seconds and then the video ends.
I've I search for old videos and like set up the parameters so that I can just watch the old ones.
What? Was it streetfire.net?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
that was a good one.
Man, you missed out on Street Fire. That was
real social media.
Real like OG car content.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah. It's kind of funny though, because like I sort of feel like shorts are sometimes that way, where you can find something that's like there's no way this would have like gotten views. So that is one thing that's fun with shorts. Sometimes you see some sweet races and stuff. But before we wrap up, I do want to thank our new subscribers. Some of you guys found the channel through some of the shorts that we made, and some of you found the channel from our last episode, which it seemed like was attracting some interesting comments. And you guys keep watching the channel, so we really appreciate it. If you've made it this far and you're not a subscriber, I definitely invite you to hit that subscribe button. We're doing this once a week for all of 2025. That's our goal. We've stuck to it so far. We've been doing it now for a month, so that's pretty sweet. Yeah, congratulations.
It's one video a week is hard.
It's
just
to
sit down and talk.
Yeah, the whole thing is challenging because we're trading editing and posting, and so it sort of feels like you have on weeks and off weeks, but there is no off week for trying to make time.
Right.
You know,
and somebody mentioned they want to hear more about our cars.
Yeah,
I think we're definitely going to do that
for sure. Yeah,
and like I love communicating with the audience and people watching. So if you see something in a video or hear something in one of our videos, definitely comment below, because we talk about whatever you have said and want to like bring it up as a topic.
Yes,
you know?
absolutely.
So like I definitely want to get into more details about the Buick. I love Andrew's Challenger, and I'd love for him to kind of walk us through the car, because it's been like freaking 6 months since we've touched that thing.
Yep.
So it'd be super fun to do that. So look forward to that happening, and that's all I got.
Yeah, I think that there's been some great comments about other episode ideas, and we're gonna keep pumping them out, and so you will see your comments eventually acknowledged and read, and just stick around. We're enjoying sitting down. I'm grateful for the opportunity to see you, brother. Thanks for having me over at your garage. And
it's warmer here.
Yeah, it's like, how cold is it? It's been just when we thought it couldn't get any colder, it's getting colder.
It's minus 10 degrees out
all day.
Yeah,
like it's not just like in the morning.
It's
like
just nasty.
It's going to be worse next week, so we might do 2 episodes here.
Yep, I'm fine with that. After last week's episode, I just said bye to Andrew and ran to my car and just drove home.
Yeah,
I just drove through his town and I'm like, don't care. Like, I'm sure cops do not care right now. I'm not following.
You
the
were
speed
like,
limit.
I gotta go.
My
Yeah, that was
hands were
funny.
so numb.
It was brutal, but all right, thanks guys.
See ya.
All right, that was good. It was very stream of conscious.